Today we've got 3 different Godox lights into the studio that we are going to take a look at and compare a little bit and share some of the differences between them. We've got the FV150, the UL150, and the SL200 Mark II. The FV150 is $349, and the SL200 Mark II and the UL150 are both $439 even. We've also got an exciting new accessory to take a look at. That's how all the cool kids unbox things. This is the SA 17 or something. This is their Bones mount to projection attachment mount. They're the same attachment mounts that are used by the S30. This little guy right here. It's Godox's little spotlight mount. It's got a bunch of lenses, and attachments, and an iris, and all those cool things. If you want to watch that video, there's a link to it in the description of this one. This will adapt any Bones mount light into a light that will work with all the attachments that work with Godox's S30. And so this little thing is kind of Godox's answer to Aperture's spotlight mount. And Godox's projection attachment is a little bit closer to what a lot of people can afford. So anyways, that's what we're gonna take a look at today. Let's get to unboxing. But I don't really do unboxings on my channel, so All right, so you should be super glad that we skipped that unboxing because the boxes were terrible. It's just, there's nothing exciting about it. The box for the UL150 kind of fell apart while I was opening it. And something I noticed about all of these is none of them come with any type of carrying case or travel case. And the type of carrying bag you get with other brands of lights are super useful, and I would really appreciate if Godox's lights would come with a travel case, but they just don't. So it seems like that's where a big piece of your savings is coming from. Second, if you'd like to get a lot of things when you open boxes, it looks like the Godox UL150 is probably going to be your best bet in that regard. You get the reflector, you get the power brick ballast thing, you get the power brick for that, you get another couple cables, and then you get this little kind of V-mount power diaper that carries the power supply and then attaches it with the V-mount slot to the control box. Control unit, V-mount slot power thing, the light controller, whatever you want to call it. You get a lot of things with the UL150. But the one thing that I noticed the UL150 doesn't come with is a remote. And it doesn't even use the same remote as the other two. These two lights both use the RCA6. This one uses the RCA52 remote, which is another thing you have to order. It's only $8, but I would really appreciate if it also came with the remote. One of the most important things in my mind is a reliable remote control for this type of light. And the other two, they're very similar in terms of unboxing. It's, you get a power cable, you get a reflector, you get the remote, and of course, you get the light. The FV150, again, is $349. The SL200 Mark II is $439. And the other thing that I noticed right off the bat is the only one that accepts a V-mount battery is the Godox UL150. And that is a huge value add. Again, I just really wish it would have come with the remote. And both the Godox UL150 and the SL200 Mark II come with the new style of reflector, while the Godox FV150 came with the old style of reflector. They're all good reflectors. This one will put out a more even spread, and I think that this one will put out a more directional beam with a little bit more output. So I think a lot of people prefer this style of reflector because it's the new one, but the old one works just fine too. All right, so let's talk about some stuff that matters beyond just the price. The build quality on all of these lights is pretty much identical. None of the yokes go all the way around. They all stop at the handle. It's all made out of the same plastic and the same materials. All the buttons feel pretty much the same, except for on the UL150, because there's no buttons on the unit itself. They're all contained on the little separated controller. Something I noticed when I was unboxing all these and kind of playing with them initially is the UL150 has several things about it that just make sense. Like they put a lot of attention to detail. I think my camera is slowly drifting upwards through this video. I just noticed this. Whatever. I know I made a popular video and really the first tutorial on how to replace the fan on the Godox SL60 because it was too noisy. I'm pretty sure that's why they made the Godox UL150, was specifically in response to videos like that one. They went the extra step. So this is the power controller ballast thing. They've got like this simple little piece of plastic. It's not anything amazing. It's just like a little piece of plastic that's in the power ballast, right? It's probably just, it's simple, but it works. You can just really easily hang this on a C-stand. It's not an expensive thing. It's just, I mean, it's a cheap, easy solution, but it just works. And then they also included this little V-mount diaper thing, I've been calling it, because you can just attach it to the AC power adapter, just like that, and then boom. It's just simple. It works. I don't know. I just like that. And now I've got all of these lights on what is called a triple header. This one's from Impact. It's about 40 bucks, and it will let you mount up to 5 different lights. So anyways, let's look at the back of these lights for just a second. This is the FV150, and even the FV150, the least expensive light of this lineup, at 5600 Kelvin has more output than the Aperture 300X in constant output mode. So if you put the Aperture 300X at 5600 Kelvin and leave it in constant output mode, it only hits up to about 4600 lux, around there, and the FV150 will break just about 6000 lux. The UL150 will get up to 6700 lux, and the Godox SL200 Mark II will get up to 8000 lux, which is very bright. And also a moment to talk about the way the super reflectors work, the hyper reflectors. So the FV150 has the old kind of standard reflector. I'm just gonna point it behind me to make this demonstration make sense. You can see how it's a pretty even distribution of light here with this reflector on. And then it's a completely even distribution of light. And then you go to the hyper reflector, and these things, you know, they 10x your light, but they also have a very specific hotspot here. You can even see it with the light. Wherever I point it, you get that hotspot. So, you know, wherever anyone is measuring these lights, it's like a darn laser pointer. So I don't really like to refer to the measurements of these lights once you put these hyper reflectors on there, because it's just, you know, it's just pointing all the light into a single direction, and you don't get any output on the edges, right? Sure, it 10x's the output at the light at the very center, but if you're trying to fill a diffusion frame or a softbox or something, that doesn't do anything for you. For that reason, I actually prefer this kind of reflector that has a more even distribution of output. And so while the hyper reflector is cool to get those super high lux numbers, you know, it's just, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's kind of weird that the industry is going that way, but I guess that's marketing. The FV150 is the least expensive light, and it has the best reflector in my opinion, but it's also the loudest. This is a noisy light. You cannot turn the fan off. I don't know if you can hear that. I usually have the noise processing turned up. It's also the noisiest. I can hear it. It's kind of annoying. I mean, it's acceptable. It's no louder than the, you know, the 120D Mark II. If it gets, you know, if it's above 65% power for too long. It's just kind of a standard fan. It's not great. I don't love it. But if you're a photographer, the FV150 is going to be the best choice for you if you need a strobe, because it's got this button back here called LED. You tap that, and then the light turns off and it goes into strobe mode. And it's got a flash sync port here so you can plug your camera into it. And then you can also test it that way. It does the whole strobe flash thing. And so if you take a picture, right, you can use it as a strobe. It's like, I don't know, maybe twice as bright as it actually does if you have it at 100% power. So it charges the LED up, and then you can, you know, cycle through and blast the brightness and use it as an actual strobe. So this is a great choice if you're a photographer, but even when you have it in strobe mode, the fan is still going, and I don't like that. The FV150 also has special effects built into it. So if you click this dial over here, it'll start cycling through the different special effects modes, which are really just kind of, you know, different levels of flashing and strobing and stuff like that, for like flickering light bulb effects and things like that. I don't really care for the special effects. I rarely use them on just solid plain white lights. So this light is too noisy for me. But if you've only got $349, then maybe this is the option for you. It's still a great light, it's got great color quality, and it's plenty bright. It's just, I don't like the fan noise. And that's where these two come in. So the UL150 and the SL200 Mark II are both very interesting in my opinion. The UL150 will get up to 6,600 lux, and of course with the hyper reflector it will get you up to 60,000 some odd, you know, but it's completely silent. It's a little bit bigger because you've got the whole heatsink built into this thing, and it's got the little power ballast, and it's the only one of the three that will actually let you power it with VMAT batteries. It's also the only one that doesn't come with a remote as a standard accessory. You have to buy that separately. But if you want to get the brightest light possible with the least amount of noise, then the UL150 is pretty much your choice because there's no fans in the whole unit. And of course, if you need to power it remotely with a VMAT battery, it's also your only choice. Now the SL200 Mark II is, I think, probably my favorite light of the bunch. For one, it looks nice, right? It doesn't have all the yellow branding and everything. It's like a different line of lights. It's this new kind of clean white color. It's just the color, who cares? But what I really like about the SL Mark II series here is this button right here. This is the fan button. They installed a fan button so you can hit the button, it'll turn the fan off, and it'll cap the brightness at 50% what the light is capable of doing. So it will act as a completely silent light if you turn the fan off, or it'll turn the fan on and then go to full brightness. And the fan is super silent. It's this black and yellow fan, kind of like the branding on the Godox UL and VL series. It's about as quiet as you would think it could possibly get. And even if it bothered you still, you just turn it off. And the interface is the same as the FV150. It's like they just replaced the test button for the strobes with the fan button because it doesn't have that capacity to be a strobe. But I love that. I love that they did that. And if you turn the fan on, it'll go up to 8,000 lux. And then if you put the hyper reflector on, you'll get over 80,000 lux. So this light is punching up there with the Aperture 300D series type of output. It's getting close. And it's got all the special effects built in, the strobes and the different effects. I'm not gonna go over the effects really because I really don't use them. It's just the best thing about it is it's got the fan button built in, so you can just turn the fan off if you don't wanna use it, or if you need that output, boom, you can turn the fan on. Also, the UL150 is super silent because of course there's no fans. I don't like how there are so many different things with this light. You got the power ballast, you got the AC brick and or the VMAT battery, a bunch of cords and cables and things. I know they had to separate everything in order to get it as bright as it could possibly get to distribute the heat evenly. I understand that, but I don't like going back into the having a million cords everywhere. So if I was gonna recommend a light between the UL150 and the SL200 Mark II, I would be leaning towards the SL200 Mark II because it's got that fan button and it's all self-contained. There's just, all you got is the power cord going into the back of the light, and the unit itself, everything is built in. Now I guess if you were permanently mounting one of these lights, like the UL150, I might lean a little bit more towards that because all the controls for the light to turn it off and on and everything are on this little separate controller. Which, if you are, if you don't want to have to reach up and reach up to grab and adjust and turn this light on and off, I get that. But because the SL200 Mark II comes with a remote and you can turn the fan off, this is the first light from Godox that I could comfortably turn on, just leave it on, and then turn it off with the remote, similar to how I use my other favorite lights from that other company, which I'm actually currently using right now. Aperture, right? Okay, I mean, no one's paying me to do anything here. It's just, I like that Godox has finally taken all the suggestions that, I and so many others have been laying out for the past several years and implemented it into the SL200 Mark II. The color quality is great. I measured them with the Callaway C800, my new spectrometer. They've all got very similar color quality. They're all 5600 Kelvin lights. They are all within 100 to 150 Kelvin of the Kelvin range of 5600 Kelvin, plus or minus. The SSI of all these lights is about 72, and the TLCI is at 97. So it is great color quality for the price. There are better lights, but once you start increasing a single point of SSI or TLCI here or there, then you start significantly increasing the price. And I think what Godox is doing is they are doing to cinema lighting what Aperture did to it first. They are taking Aperture's design philosophy of make everything affordable and then cutting some of the more convenient features that all of Aperture's lights offer out, and then adding, just basically making a more budget-friendly version of what Aperture is doing. So they're going after the abandoned market of filmmakers that can't quite afford Aperture's products and coming out with things like these, which are actually quite awesome. I know a couple professionals that use a ton of Godox lights in all of their shoots, paid shoots with famous celebrities. And here's the other thing about CRI and TLCI and SSI and all that stuff. You're paying for the, you want to get that 99 TLCI or 98, 97's too low. That I don't agree with you on that point if that's your philosophy, because I have a softbox in front of my key light right now, right? Which is the Aperture 120D Mark II. And that light has amazing color quality, which is why I use it as my key light. But then I have this cheap freaking softbox in front of it, which dumps the CRI down to 92. Let me show you. Here, so for example, we got my C800 here. If we measure, so I just measured a 96 CRI out of the UL150. And if I measure the CRI out of the Aperture 120D Mark II, 94.5. So does that mean that this one has better color quality? Well, no, it means that I put a piece of diffusion in front of my light, and so that lowered the color quality of the light itself. So I'm not getting the beautiful, 98, 99 CRI teals, all the color quality that I paid for because I have a cheap piece of diffusion in front of the light. So, having 1 or 2 points of additional color quality is not going to change or make better your ability to tell a story. So save some money if you don't need that 1 point of color quality. It's not going to make a difference unless you are doing something that requires precision color and you can afford that precision color. These are excellent alternatives. If you also need to be remote, you need to power a V-mount, then of course the UL150 is again your only option because the other two only work off of AC power. And finally, my personal pick is going to be the Godox SL200 Mark II because they got the fan button, you got the brightness when you need it, and the fan is super quiet. It's remote controlled, it comes with the remote, it's got special effects built in, I guess that's cool. They all have little umbrella holders down on the bottom of them, so if you need an umbrella, then it'll work with all of them. The build quality is much improved over the old Godox SL200ii, the one that I hacked apart and changed the fan in. This light is retired officially. I think I'm probably just gonna give it away to someone who needs it. And the last thing I wanna talk about today is gonna be this adapter that adapts any of these lights to working with their spotlight mount thing. All right, so this is the Godox SA17, which is the Bowens mount Godox projection mount attachment. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video if you want to check it out. Little solid piece of glass there. Let's see what we're working with. Okay, looks like it goes in like this. Nope, I'm an idiot. And this is Godox's projection attachment. This is the one I actually used with the Godox S30 in that whole video. It's what they used when they introduced this whole thing. Should just slide in there, and there we are. Yeah, so I've got the iris in there now. Oh, you're gonna like this. Okay. All right, so now we can turn any Bowens mount light into a projection with Godox's attachments, their iris, as well as a bunch of different lenses that they sell. That's pretty cool. And we've got the iris there. I actually quite like this. This is such a useful attachment. I can already see myself using it a bunch of different ways. So what we've got in there is the iris attachment. The iris attachment, or the iris SA06, goes into the projection attachment piece. So we've got the projection attachment, we've got the iris. You could use this with gobos, which are basically cutouts to let you show, you could show a logo, you could show, it's not big, it's not huge and heavy. Whew. Gotta tighten those light stands down. It's just kind of like the perfect little marriage of technology. Look at that, that looks cool. So the thing about the projection attachment is you have to get all the lens separately. There's a bunch of different lenses, so depending on which one you want. The aperture on the lenses that you apply to lights is basically If you know anything about apertures on your camera, it's how much light is going through the aperture or through the lens. The lenses on these Godox attachments have the same thing. So this is the 150mm f2.2 lens for the light. So at f2.2, that's how much light is going through this thing. While this little lens I got on there now, that's an f2.8, and this one here is an f2.4 63mm lens. So you have all these different lenses. The larger the aperture or the smaller the f number is on these lenses, the more output you're going to be getting through the projection attachment on whatever light you're attaching it to. So it's quite an interesting way to retool what they did with their S30 attachments and their projection attachments and all that stuff. I really like it. So it could give life to some of your old Bowens mount lights. There you go. So those are all the things that I got in the studio today with Godox. So if you were going to get any of these things that I've been talking about today, and the iris is the thing that you would need to put in it if you wanted to do stuff like this, where you change the size of that little dot down to a little speck, and it's focusable, so it could be a perfect little dot. This video's gone on way too long. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. If you want any of the stuff I talked about, there's links in the description. If you're not subscribed, then not cool. You know, there's a link so you can fix that. If you are subscribed, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, and if you like the music that I used for this video, I got it from Artlist. There's a link where you can get 2 free months to a subscription to Artlist in the description of this video. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.